Start recording. All right, this is the voiceover process video for my newest illustration, Darkness in His Heart. Welcome, and let's begin. So whenever I start an illustration, I always have my reference up. In the corner here, you can see I have peer reference up with um, that's helping me just create thumbnail sketches. I started with a perspective grid, just a rough perspective grid to figure out the camera angle and the general perspective I want to use for this image. Even though I knew I wanted to draw a landscape uh, image, it's still good to put in that basic perspective grid that allows you to understand the space that you're working in, and just allows you to treat this drawing experience, or this painting, the drawing that you're about to do, like it's in a 3D space rather than just a 2D plane, right, on a piece of paper. So whenever you start a drawing, remember to add a perspective grid, just a simple one. You don't have to make it super fancy or anything, just a horizon line and vanishing point. And the higher the vanishing point or the horizon line is, it makes it look like we're looking down on the subject matter, and the lower the horizon line is, it makes it look like a more normal camera view or shot. If it's like at feet level, the horizon line, then we're looking like up at a subject matter. So my camera angle is in the middle of the scene, and it's just an establishing shot, and we get to see the background and the character for this story and this particular piece. This is some type of, I imagine that this was like a title cover illustration for the project I'm working on. I wanted it to be epic. I wanted to have elements of the background and the world that this character lives in, while also emphasizing the character as a focal point. And so I'm just thinking about the story as I draw it. This is a medieval fantasy setting, and I want this to have like a grand landscape and environment. And so I'm implementing that in the background, and that's why it's so important for you to make sure that you're establishing your perspective when you start drawing. If you don't, then sometimes you can get lost, and maybe that's why your illustration might feel off, is because you don't have that general guiding perspective grid to help you out. And it's really important because it allows you it just allows you to establish a space that you're working inside of, because without it, you kind of get lost and you just start drawing a character in a random white background, and that's cool. But if you want to really tell a story and make your illustrations feel more cinematic, what you want to do is add your perspective grid onto your canvas before you even start drawing anything, and that's just going to help you overall later down the line. Like I said, just to think in that three-dimensional way. And so here I'm adding the flat colors of the painting, and I'm not the best painter, but I just do my best to study and do my best to paint to the best of my ability, and it's just all a learning experience. And I wanted to challenge myself to paint the background instead of doing line work, because I do want to learn how to paint as well as do line work, especially for a title cover illustration like this. I want to practice painting and doing my best to render everything I see, or not everything, but just practicing rendering. It takes a little bit longer. I think this took about 10, maybe 11 hours to complete, not in one sitting, but about 11 to 10 hours, 10 to 11 hours, because I did want a more rendered, more painterly feel, especially to the background. And then I do the same thing with the character. So at this point, I've already added all of the flat colors. I'm doing more edits to the actual sketch so I can get the pose right, and making sure he actually looks correct and his proportions are correct. And I'm making sure that I just lay down all the flat colors for everything. Then I start adding all the shadows, and I usually just color everything on one layer, but I copy and paste my flat color layer, especially for my characters, so that I can have a backup if I mess up. But I add the shadows in, and just a basic lighting and bounce light for all my colors. But then at this point, I am drawing in the monsters because I really wanted to tell a story with this and really get the viewer excited to see this piece. I wanted this to be like a glimpse of what the story is about and to get you excited to like want to read it, right? And so that's why um, I wanted to add some type of some monsters that I've drawn and designed into this piece because it was kind of looking boring with just the character standing there with his weapon. And so I knew I wanted to add something in the background, and so I added these monsters that I have designed called Chaos Kids. These humanoid monster cartoon, just fun and goofy little monsters that I can add um, in the background here. And it makes it more like a battle scene rather than just a character standing there. And so that's one way you can make your illustration stand out, is just by adding some type of story to it. And what I should have done is added the monsters in my thumbnail phase when I was sketching. But it's all right. I made it work this time. But usually, what you want to do is prepare your thumbnails with everything that it needs composition already, so that you're not adding things and deleting things that you don't want. You want to make sure that you plan in the thumbnail stage before you even start adding color and stuff like that. That's how I like to work because it just allows me to get the the piece done faster without going back and forth and figuring out what to take out, what to leave in there. If your thumbnail sketch is good, then the rest of the drawing will be good. And the thumbnail sketch is just the foundation of the drawing, right? So I should have added the monsters in at that point because I wouldn't have struggled. I wouldn't have spent so much time trying to figure out how to fit them into the composition that I already created. I should have fit them in the composition from the early stages of the actual thumbnail stage and the sketch phase. So it's all right. It worked out, but I recommend that you really start with the thumbnails and plan them out accordingly so that they are really just like the foundation of the drawing. So after I add all of these three monsters, humanoid, chaos kid, monsters, I start working on the background and add these really story specific like kind of like spikes that represent a corruption that's going on in this world and where the monsters in this world originate from. And so that's why I'm adding them, but I realized that they kind of fell off once again because of the composition. I didn't really plan them out the best in my thumbnail phase, and so I'm really having to go back and edit. And that's the good thing about digital art, is we can go back and edit it, stuff like this, really quickly. But like I said, you want to make sure that you're planning your image properly from the beginning so that you don't have to redo and undo things that kind of like waste your time, especially because you want to move on and create new pieces of artwork. You want to get this one done as fast as possible, right? You don't want to keep editing it forever. But I eventually got to a place where I found the best possible way to incorporate everything I wanted into the piece without it looking not how I wanted, or not looking just making it look the best it could, basically, is what I'm trying to say. You can see here I try to add like another like dragon-like creature in the background. I knew I wanted more monsters in the background, but I didn't know how to fit them in this composition. And once again, that's why it's important that you plan your composition from the very beginning so that you are drawing it the way it is supposed to be. And I can't say it enough, but if you plan your thumbnail stage right, then you don't have to do what I'm doing and trying to draw new characters in the composition when they don't fit, because my main character is the focal point, Omari, and showcasing his character in this scene. And so when I start adding elements and taking things away, it kind of takes the attention off of Omari. So I had to be careful with what I add and what I subtract from the scene. So yeah, it just goes back to proper planning of your image and making sure that what you draw was planned out from the very beginning. But at this point, it's just all about rendering and getting the lighting right and establishing the mood. I start using like layer modes to really separate the foreground from the background. And at this point, it's just a lot of rendering. And that's why I took so long to create this, is because a lot of time needs to be added or needs to be put in to get this looking right and looking the way I want it to look. And after that, I started working on Mario again and just really wanted to play on the story and how in this world the magic that he uses is starting to corrupt him. And so I want to actually go in and portray that in the face, in his cracks. That's what that crack means, in his face. And you see me rendering another version of his face that looks like the monsters in the background, is because in the story I want the magic that these people use is corrupting them without their knowledge. I think it's a power that is helping them achieve their goals and grow in power, but the story idea I have is that this power actually is more like a poison than a gift or a power that they can utilize well. And so that's the way I represented that, through his face being corrupted and just looking like the monsters behind him. And so that's what that represents. But overall, the main point of this commentary for this piece I created is just to really plan out your image from the start, so that you're not adding things that weren't there originally and messing up the composition. It ultimately worked out. I added these like watcher type fireball eyeball type monster things in the background that play into the story as well. But yeah, you want to make sure that your composition is right and that your thumbnail is telling the story from the very beginning, so you don't have to do as many edits as I had to do in this piece. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of this. After this, just rendering. I didn't record the rest of this, but that's the finished piece here, and it's just rendering at this point and really getting the piece how I want it, adding a few more adjustment layers and things like that. But I really enjoyed this piece. If you have any questions, let me know, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, if you want to learn more about this project or want to learn how to create artwork like this for your own characters and your own stories, you can join me on Patreon. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. I'm documenting my journey for creating this project, currently called Chaos. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.